good if you make your questions applicable to all three CEOs.
As the CEO, when's the last time you wrote code, like software, a line of code?
Oh, that is so unfair and irrelevant. But the question is, as a CEO, when was the last time you wrote code? By the way, someone asked me this. So someone was pitching me, and I thought I was going to be asking the questions. And he, first thing out of his mouth was, when was the last time you wrote code? And it turned out I was trying to customize some Gmail stuff. And I wasn't smart enough about JavaScript to do it in JavaScript, so I did it in AppleScript on my Mac. And so I showed him that, and although he thought it was goofy, he was sufficiently impressed.
Yeah, I can't follow that. So it was in Fortran, college. COBOL, college.
I haven't written code in 20 years, and I think that's good for the companies I've been CEO of.
Yeah, so what were you hoping to get from that question?
So I'm a CEO of a startup, and I find myself writing code every now and then, but I'm also trying to do the CEO side of it. And so I'm just kind of curious, at what point do you cut away entirely from code and focus on the business side of the company?
You should ask the CEO of New Relic. He does both, and it's a big, successful company. I'm sort of a stupid hired CEO who doesn't know how to code, so I can't be a role model here.
All right, next question. Good answer.
What on earth convinced you to compete against something as like massive as OpenStack? I guess all three of you can answer that. But
actually, the question is actually applicable to all three of their companies, but it's just more evident.
Marten, kind of. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I was tricked into it. I love my job at Eucalyptus, but when I took the job at Eucalyptus was the only game in town. By the time I signed the paper and when I joined, we had a dozen competitors. OpenStack with Nimbula, with Nebula, Piston, Cloud Scaling. Then there was Nimbula, Abiquo, Zimori, and a bunch of, and VMware kind of out with their product. So they all happened then. We didn't have at that point our product ready. That's what I said. Our product didn't have the usability to sustain that enormous attack from the world. So it really shook our company, and we've been working hard to come back. Now we love the position we have because we are a single, dedicated, focused team. We deliver stuff. We give away our tested binaries to the whole world. It just works. It's AWS compatible. I do know that 99% of the people here probably believe that OpenStack will win, and they look at me and saying, Martin, why do you keep doing that? But we just see the value of the value prop and the technology we're building, and we're having fun. And we're one group. We don't have to negotiate with others. We don't have to vote for features. We don't have to debate. We don't have to swear at what somebody else did. We're very strict and disciplined in our design and productivity. That's how an engineering team of 35 can have 20 times the code commits on GitHub compared to the OpenStack committers, because our coders write code. So we have an amazing product now. I wish the whole world would recognize it, but give us a little bit more time and you'll see. Thanks for the question.
So we have a minute and a half, and if no one else has questions, I have a question of my own.
Yeah,
Nate, all right.
For companies doing private cloud, do you see all three players playing a part in the future, or is it one of them going to take away?
I would compare to relational databases 20 or 30 years ago. You had Oracle, Sybase, Informix, Ingress, IBM DB2, and Microsoft then built theirs on top of Sybase, and I'm still missing one. Yeah, 6. There were 6 database companies that got to $1 billion in revenues. Today there are 3 remaining. So yes, I do think that there's plenty of business for all the current players, but many have already gone away. So now you have primarily CloudStack, OpenStack, and Eucalyptus on the open source side. Then you have VMware and Microsoft on the closed source side, and that's it. But 4 years ago, we had 3 times that number of players.
So in the half minute we have left, can you put up slide number 2? Because I want to get votes from all 4 of them. Here we go. So we have 2 venture capitalists here with 2 opposing points of view on open source. Peter Levine is saying, business model's a failure, everything about it sucks. You can read the bullets here, it's a shit show. And Mike Volpe thinks now is a breakout moment for billion-dollar open source companies. And it's funny that he said billion-dollar open source companies, because we've got one who sold his company for $1 billion, and we've got one who just got valued at 800 million. So if you had to vote, would you say the guy on the right is right, or is it?
Start with me?
Yeah.
So, well, I certainly wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I thought the guy on the left was right. I think there's a lot of points that he makes on the left-hand side that actually are correct. I think if somebody starts to go, especially some of the things like project never gain traction, you compete with open source. If you're off to go start an open source company, I'm not sure that that's necessarily the right way to go. I think getting a hold of something that is a project that already has momentum and has gotten through a lot of the kind of the risks up there. And then I think if you're smart about how you build it, if it is all open source all the time, just a support model around it, I don't think that's a very interesting business. But if you build it with, you think about all the companies that were built on top of Java. Java was open source, but there's a lot of big companies that were built around it. So it's the model that you build around it, and it's whether you think about it from a strategic, sophisticated way that determines whether you can be successful.
Mark?
Yeah, I would agree. And of course, I'm in the same boat. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't believe the guy on the right is correct and the guy on the left is wrong. But I think you have to look at it differently. Open source isn't a business model. Open source is a part of your strategy. Open source is a way you get your product either adopted or included in other projects. And if you look at it that way and you build your business based on business principles, then it's different. Instead of just saying, I've got to find a way to monetize all this free people that are using my stuff freely, and look at instead, what are the people who are using it that are getting value out of it, and how can I monetize that value? I shouldn't say forget, but don't try to just say, I've got to take something open source and figure out how to play a game with them and convince them to pay me for it. That doesn't work. And I think that's why Peter Levine is talking about the failures.
And why don't you close us out?
Well, of course, Mike Volpe is right. But if you're wise, you will always listen more attentively to your detractors than your supporters, because there's always something to learn.
All right.